You are an advisor to your dad.
Yes.
It looks like this impeachment will head towards, or at least it's supposed to head towards, a Senate trial. Do you advise him on that? Do you think that this should be a trial with witnesses and new evidence?
I leave that to the lawyers in terms of procedurally how to move forward.
You haven't given your own advice?
I give him my perspective and opinion, but many people are very well informed about process and how to move forward, and I would defer to them on that. It is pretty unprecedented that support for impeachment has decreased over time as more information was presented to the American people. It's decreased, not increased. So with all of this time spent, with all of these witnesses who didn't have firsthand knowledge, with all of these people that have been paraded in front of the American people, support for this action has decreased. So, I think he sees it for what it is, which is really just raw partisan politics. What's, I think, deeply unfortunate and disappointing is the amount of work that we could be doing to further the shared goals that we have and that the American people want us to be finding common ground on. If you think about this past week and what has been accomplished by this administration, despite unprecedented resistance and a climate of just tremendous raw politics, it's been remarkable. From the passage of the defense bill, which secured for millions of Americans paid family leave, to the creation of Space Force, to the largest pay raise for our service members in a decade. That, plus USMCA, plus Tier 1 of the US-China trade deal, it is incredible.
You gotta love Ivanka Trump claiming in the same breath that impeachment is just a partisan sham, while at the same time refusing to even say that she thinks a fair trial is a good idea. Again, the issue here isn't that Democrats are trying to skew this in their own favor or demanding only Democratic witnesses and no Republican witnesses. They want a fair trial. They want to hear from people who were implicated by first-hand witnesses with first-hand knowledge of Trump's crimes. They want to hear from John Bolton and Mick Mulvaney and Mike Pence and Rudy Giuliani, as would anyone if this was any normal criminal case. And if Trump is as innocent as every single Republican claims he is, then there's absolutely no reason why they would be so afraid of calling these pro-Trump Republicans to testify. Unless, and I know you're going to have some trouble believing this, they don't actually think he's innocent. I know. Ivanka goes on to parrot her father's blatant gaslighting and says, with no basis in reality whatsoever, that support for impeachment is decreasing. Now, she might have pulled the table at Thanksgiving, but in the rest of the country, support for impeachment has been steadily climbing for months, as more and more information proving Trump's guilt has been revealed. In the latest Morning Consult Politico poll, out this weekend, support for impeachment is at 52% compared to 37% who disapprove of it. In fact, even Fox News' polling shows that overall, Americans support impeaching this president 50% to 41%. According to that same Fox poll, more Americans believe that he abused his power than those who believe he didn't. More Americans believe he obstructed Congress than those who believe he didn't. More Americans believe he committed bribery than those who believe he didn't. Most Americans don't think that it's normal to ask a foreign leader to investigate political rivals, which was the catalyst for Trump's impeachment. And most Americans don't believe he cooperated enough with the impeachment inquiry for which the obstruction of Congress article of impeachment was drafted. In other words, most Americans don't believe Trump about his extortion scheme, and they certainly don't believe Ivanka pretending that they do. But the most hypocritical statement by Ivanka, which, to be clear, is no small feat in an interview rife with hypocrisy, is her pretending that it's such a shame that the government is wasting its time on impeachment when there's so much work that could be done on behalf of the American people. There are over 400 House-passed bills languishing in the Senate. Over 250 of them are bipartisan. Mitch McConnell has bragged that he's the, quote, grim reaper of legislation, which is especially grim considering of those bills getting no vote in the Senate is H.R. 8, the Universal Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2019, a bill that could very well save American lives. The fact is that Democrats are able to walk and chew gum at the same time. They're able to perform their constitutional duty of oversight as well as pass meaningful legislation for the American people. So if Ivanka really has a problem with the fact that no bills are being passed into law, she might want to take it up with the Republican Senate Majority Leader. She does, however, praise the creation of Space Force, which I think we can all agree is one of those kitchen table issues that makes all of our lives better. That we're spending billions of dollars not on healthcare or education or infrastructure, but where it really matters, where it truly impacts the people of this country, in space. She goes on to tout a pay raise for the military, which is rich coming out of an administration that was just caught using the military as a way to siphon money into Trump's border wall and was ultimately blocked by a federal judge. An administration that was just caught using the military to prop up Trump's Turnberry resort in Scotland that was down $4.5 million in 2017 and miraculously up $3 million in 2018. That put our troops, present and future, in harm's way by abandoning our allies, the Kurds, in northern Syria. That only days ago attacked a World War II veteran, John Dingell, claiming that he was in hell. That has attacked Gold Star families and derided a prisoner of war for being a prisoner of war. Trump may use the military as a prop so he can pander to his base. He might think that he's great for the troops by reducing his support for them to nothing more than financial, but his actions speak far louder than words. And what they've said thus far is that he has zero respect for our armed forces. We can go on and on, but the simple fact is that Ivanka, like her father, can only come on television and gaslight the American people. She can only lie about not having an opinion whatsoever on a fair trial, on how Americans view impeachment, on Republican legislative priorities, because if she were to deign to tell the truth, she'd only do what anyone else who tells the truth would do, and that is to expose the president for the criminal that he is.